Disclaimer, this video isn't to convince you to play the game. I couldn't care less if you want to or not, but rather, as the title states, to clear up misconceptions people have about the game. Genshin Impact is a very popular game, and when things get popular, people feel the need to dunk on it. Now, don't get me wrong, Genshin is by no means a perfect game. It has its flaws, but rather than talking about the genuine flaws of this game, people who, most of the time, haven't actually played it or haven't played it in a long time, would rather make up false or over-exaggerated narratives about this game. It has a lot of things you can pick at for not doing well, like the character design choices at times, the lengthy dialogue, the lack of consistent quality of life updates, like their endgame content, yada yada yada. Instead, they choose to lie and spread misinformation and shame those who play it. Cowards. Let's get into the video, shall we? It's a game for pedophiles. This is probably the most popular insult/comeback people give whenever someone says, I like Genshin, or Genshit, as some unoriginal people like to call it. So as someone who has played this game for about 2 years and is pretty active and invested in it, do I think it's actually a game for pedophiles? No, it isn't. Let me explain. The main characters themselves are more than 500 years old. This is something that is confirmed, and a good amount of people they interact with are either hundreds of years old, thousands of years old, or people who are obviously adult. For the most part, you can tell this person isn't a child based on looks and body language. Are there kids in this game? Yes. Are they sexualized? You tell me. Obviously not. So this argument is like trying to hold water with a sieve. It doesn't hold. I personally do not think Genshin sexualizes its children characters, but that may be because I have a normal brain and I don't see children as sexual beings. All their kids are dressed appropriately. Diona being in heels, which Diona is this one in case you didn't know, which aren't actually heels because they don't have the back part, is meant to represent how cats stand since she is part cat. The kids in Genshin are all pretty much act like kids, whether they be NPCs or playable. Klee is hyper and super friendly to everyone. Chi-Chi is shy and reserved. Nahida makes poop jokes for God's sakes. Diana was forced to grow up, so she does act a lot more like an older child, but that is consistent with her lore. Yao Yao is super caring for those around her, but she also talks quite a lot about her parents like some kids tend to do. If you think the children in Genshin are sexual, maybe you're the one seeing them in a sexual manner. The children themselves aren't sexual, and the only way for you to say the children are sexual is, how many times am I going to say sexual in this video, is if you yourself see them as sexual beings, which sounds like your own perception rather than the game itself. Are there pedophiles in the community? Yes, it's a pretty big community. You're gonna have bad people, that's not surprising, but that isn't the game's fault. Even if Genshin didn't exist, those weirdos will find other children characters to sexualize anyway. It's not the game's fault some people are not right in the head, nor does it mean that pedophiles are Genshin's target demographic. Honestly, if it was, we would have a lot more kids. Just saying. It is a gacha game that steals your money and promotes gambling. Is it a gacha game? Yes. Does it promote gambling? Technically, yes. I don't really know what to say to that one. Yes, it preys on people who like to gamble, I guess. But is it really a gamble if you're guaranteed a character after a certain pity? You're not gambling much. You know how much it is going to take for you to get the character you want, and more often than that, you get the character before reaching that limit anyway. So like, what's the problem? Does it steal your money? You think you entering your credit card information and spending your money on 2D characters on your screen willingly is the game stealing your money? Really? This argument always cracks me up. Like, last I checked, the company didn't hold a gun to your head and ask you to give up your credit card information. You did that out of your own free will. If you don't have basic self-control, then that sounds like a you problem. You probably shouldn't be playing a gacha game if you're that susceptible to bad choices. And also, most of the people I've seen wishing on Genshin and spending a copious amount of money on it are people who can afford to do so. Genshin does have a big F2P player base. Most people don't spend money on this game. The whales just tend to be louder. It's a pay-to-win gacha game. Some people claim that people are forced to pay for characters because there is no other way to get them, or that you need new units to enjoy the game, or that it's really hard to get new characters. Sir, ma'am, whatever you are, I'm going to stop you right there. You do not need new characters to progress in the game. You are given 8 decent characters pretty much for free just by progressing in the game and doing some achievements. People have cleared the hardest content of the game with just these 8 characters. So it isn't impossible. It's a little hard, but it isn't impossible. Also, the hardest content in the game is very much optional, and we get free characters almost every other update. So you could probably finish this game without ever wishing. Also, if there is a specific character you want in the game, it isn't too hard to get them. Just playing the game and going through the world gives you Primo Gems, which is the in-game currency used in Genshin. World exploration, the numerous amount of quests, the mail rewards, the web events, all give you primos, and they are things you would be doing anyway, minus the web events. Not everyone does that. And you don't necessarily have to excessively grind for primos, since you just play the game as intended will give you primos to wish on a character banner. Though if you are F2P, I would recommend managing your primogems a lot better than just wishing whenever you feel like it. You don't have that luxury unless you're spending money on the game. There isn't anything that would affect your gameplay and actual enjoyment of the game locked behind a paywall. Are there in-game purchases? Yes, they are. Are they necessary? Not at all. You can choose to not pay any money to this game and still enjoy it. I've been playing for 2 years and I haven't paid any money to it, and I still enjoy it as much as I did when I started. And there are lots of people who play this game for free without spending a dime and still enjoy it almost as much as everyone else who pays money. It's not a necessity, it's a choice. It's a game for incels who sexualize women. What's an incel? I don't actually know, and I don't actually care. I'm sure it's some word, it doesn't matter. Who cares? This has some basis, but in my opinion, and based on all the games I've seen sexualize women, Genshin is pretty tame. Most of the sexualization of the characters are done by the fandom itself, not the game or developers. Is there unnecessary fan service? Yeah, duh, it's a gacha game. Are the outfits unrealistic at times? Yes. Also, if it makes you feel better, the community sexualizes both the male and female characters. Even the game sexualizes both the male and female characters. As little sexualization as possible, but it does exist. Ooh, equality, I guess. MiHoYo, Hoyoverse, is a problematic company. This is mainly due to the Sumeru controversy and also because people believe Hoyoverse is greedy and stingy with the rewards. In my opinion, the rewards are alright, I guess. I have enough, but they could be improved. Before we talk about the morality of Hoyoverse, let me remind you that multi-million-dollar game companies, or just companies in general, tend to be corrupt to a certain degree. Hoyoverse is no exception, especially when it comes to their representation of cultures through playable characters. They do a decent job of representing cultures through the region design, the music, the lore, and whatnot, but the playable characters can certainly be improved on. That I can agree with. Though a lot of the people from the culture that Sumeru is supposed to be representing, since it is an amalgamation of like a bunch of different cultures, have spoken up about how not all of Sumeru is bad and orientalist, and to label the entire region as such can be really harmful to the actually good representation certain characters have. Some people go above and beyond and say playing Genshin means you support Hoyoverse's ideals, which is a stretch. Most million-dollar companies, if not all, have something they do that are bad. If people can't play Genshin without being called names, then no one should be using most of the things we have now. Most gaming companies suck. Why is it suddenly a problem when Hoyoverse is the bad one? If you're going to drag Hoyoverse down for being immoral, I hope you do the same to every other gaming company and just stop playing games unless they're made by an indie company. In conclusion, that is all the criticism Genshin gets that I can remember. Like I said in the beginning of this video isn't to convince you to play the game. It is merely here to clear up some misconceptions people have about the game that might have stopped them from playing. If you're still going to insult Genshin and its players after this, at least get a little more creative with your insults. Like, all these are so boring, and also they're false and can be easily proven to be wrong. We've heard it too many times for it to mean much. Like someone calling Genshin shit in front of me does nothing to me. Congratulations, you know an overused insult. Anything else? So do better, preferably without being racist to the developers or the people who play it. Or better yet, just ignore and mind your business. If someone plays a game you don't like, look the other way. It's not that big of a deal. Like, why do you care so much if someone plays Genshin? It's a decent game, a good game even, and a lot of people enjoy it for their own special reasons. If you don't like the game, that's fine. No one's forcing you to like it. But for a bunch of people that claim to hate Genshin, you spend so much time and energy hitting on the people who play it, it almost feels like you want to play it, but you don't want to get bullied for it. Play whatever you want. If someone's gonna bully you for playing Genshin, their opinion doesn't matter anyways. That's all I have to say. Subscribe, and see you whenever.